Hello everybody. Hello, welcome to the stream. Make sure I get everything set up here before I go. But yeah, welcome guys. My name is Ben. Hello everybody. Shush, mute. My name is Ben, or you can call me Follygon. Either one works. I believe since the last stream, now we should, I should have the, I got the Facebook chat open now, so I'll be able to check on the chat over there. Last time I was having some problems with that, but I should have all the chats feeding in here now. Let's see. Let me just make sure I can find my actual chat. What's going on, Side Effects? Welcome back, man. How is it going? Alright, cool. Well, I got too many things open over here. Okay. So, here we go. What are we doing today? We're doing some sweet stuff. Oh man, I'm gonna have to move this. My monitor over here is hiding behind my Cintiq. Just chillin', Side Effects. George, what's going on? Finally able to catch you live. Glad to have you here, man. I'm gonna move this microphone over a little bit. And kind of late for me. Let's see. It is. So I'm on the East Coast. It's 6 p.m. here. I don't know what. I think Side Effects. I can't remember where you're at. Which coast are you on? I think you're far to the east. All right. So what are we doing today, gang? If you've been hanging out on my streams. There's a link somewhere up here. I don't know where. It's just Twitch TV/Follygon with an underscore at the end of it. If you've been following along there, we've been working on this dude in our last stream. And then just today we took, I think it was just today. I think we started yesterday at the end of that last stream for like the last half hour or hour. We started converting this base head here that I sculpted into this character here, and this is this artwork is created by. Oh no! Don't delete that. Accidentally, I almost clicked delete here. I was trying to pull this over by David, and that is how you spell his name there. Sorry if it's a little small, but you can find his work on ArtStation. I'm sure you guys are very familiar with David's work. But I just found this image recently. A lot of his stuff is very similar, so I'm going to use this as a reference for the profile of the face a little bit. Even though it's a little different, you know, looking at the nose, the jaw, it's a little bit sharper, right? A lot of this stuff in the face. I guess we can zoom in away from the crotch. Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff that's different here, but I think it's close enough that I can get a good read and get some extra info there. So let me move that off to the side and see what's going on in chat here. Oh no, it's right after midnight for you, man. That's way too late over in Croatia. That's fun though. Maddie's stream, yes, I believe Maddie was just before me. Let me check over on Facebook, see what's going on. Whoa, this is kind of all crazy here. I need to make this bigger so I can actually see. Sorry, I will get started in just a moment. Awesome, cool. It looks like it's working. Welcome everybody. Welcome everybody on Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, and everywhere else. Alright, so what are we doing today? Like I said in our last stream on my channel, just started converting this face into this lovely hunk of meat over here. And we're going to continue doing that during our time today. So if you are interested in that, that's over on my YouTube channel. And if you were here during my last stream on the Pixelogic channel here, I got to show you guys how to take your work in ZBrush and set it up for full color 3D printing. So if that's something that interests you, go check out the Pixelogic ZBrush YouTube channel. Go subscribe there and check out that process. It should have been shared relatively, pretty recently, so it should be on there still, towards the top. But yeah, so what am I focusing on right now? During our time, we're going to be focusing on doing a lot of cleanup, a lot of proportional fixes as I start getting a little bit closer here. Remember, this was this character, and then I started morphing it into this thing. I do have an older version of this I can import, so you can see like what that in-between, a little bit of that in-between process Where is he? Where's our big buff boy here? Let's see. David. Oh no, this is not the one. This is a little bit more finished. I think it's this one. So yes, this is pretty early. You know, we're taking this head, we're squashing it down, making it a little bit more wide, figuring out the jaw. You can see that, you know, from here to I think this one, and then finally here as we're getting even closer. You know, making all these small changes. I'm gonna delete all those, but yeah, of course, as you guys pop in here, if you have any questions for me about my process or anything else, feel free to fire away, and I will do my best to answer what I can. And let's continue working here. I'll try to explain all the stuff that's kind of going on in my head as I sculpt. I try to do that on my own channel for those of you that have hung out there before. Kind of know my process a little bit better, I'm sure. But if I do anything and I don't explain it, and you don't know what the heck I'm doing, just yell at me and keep yelling at me until I explain it. The SpongeBob power, yes, we took a SpongeBob muffin and we showed how to set it up for 3D printing with full color SLS sandstone. So that was a lot of fun. Here's one of those. I got a bunch of these down here, and I'm not gonna take the time to hoist all like 15 plus of them. Vad, what's going on, man? Welcome to the stream. And let's check on over here. Freddie and Sarah over on Facebook. What's going on, guys? Welcome to the stream. I'm glad to have you here. I'll have to occasionally click over here to check on the chat. It's just a little bit, I gotta juggle a couple different places at once. So if I don't immediately see your question, I apologize. Just keep yelling at me until I do answer you. So we will get into an asymmetry. Oh, we got some stuff going on here. We will get into asymmetry here shortly, but let's continue working on some of these major proportions, and I can show you guys some of the stuff that I have done to this guy that's a little bit more interesting. So what's going on here? If you guys have ever seen this artifacting happening, it's because we have polypaint and material applied to this character. Essentially, I at some point edited the mesh on a lower subdivision level, probably with the move brush. By default it has RGB turned on, and that just happens to cause a few errors here. So I'm just going to re-grab my Toon shader or my ZBrush paint material here that I'm using and reapply that material. And that should fix that. It looks like it did. Cool. Okay. So let's take a look at some of what we've done, I guess, in the hair, because that was the most recent thing. If we can select up here. Now this is just dynameshed all together. Very quick, block out, nothing crazy. Very simple forms, like hyper simple. Hyper simplification of form here. And I probably won't take it much further. This is what I would normally do for a block out for the head of a character. Essentially, the kick that I'm on right now is doing a bunch of quick heads where I spend like maybe a day or two on each of these, just figuring out, you know, how different artists handle different things in their characters' silhouette, and, you know, just interesting things where, like, this guy's eyes, for instance, are crazy. This guy's eyes, if you can't tell by looking at this dude's eyes, these eyes are insane. They're huge, and they're very flat. And with that, you have two options with your eyes. You can either flatten your eyes, or you can just make them huge inside of the head, if you want to keep that roundness to them. Even larger than actually what I have. I would actually need/want to make these a little bit larger to get that to read a little bit better. But right now they're close. They're close to where we want them. They're not perfect. We can kind of keep tweaking on this with perspective on. It's going to be helpful. You'll see me kind of toggle that on and off a lot. Let's see here. And I'm just going to kind of jump around, make a lot of changes, a lot of little changes, until I'm feeling like we're in a stage where we can start jumping into asymmetry. I think we could stand to thicken up his neck even more. Let's turn off perspective so we can get a clean mask here. And let's see. Vega, what's going on, man? Welcome to the stream. Working on portfolio stuff? No, not stuff for a portfolio. More of a, I guess I would say study. Some like style studies. Just looking at other people's work and kind of figuring out how they do stuff. Kind of what we did on our last two heads. This guy, it was a lot of fun to just, this is by a concept by Miji Lee over on ArtStation. You can find their work. Where's my Chrome here? ArtStation, real quick here. Miji Lee. Yeah, they just have a lot of really defined, cool stuff. They'll take photographs of real people and then translate it into their own style. So definitely give Miji a follow. But yeah, this is one of her concepts. This concept in particular is not on her ArtStation. I found it on her Tumblr. And again, this is by David. Let's see. Probably just find it by typing in David. I bet he's up there. David R. Is it AR? Nope, I was wrong. What is it? David 88. Oh no, I'm not gonna find it now. David. Maybe J. Here he is. Definitely check out David's work as well. A lot of this stuff has a very kind of similar style, which is why a very distinct style, I will say. Like if we start grabbing a couple of these guys here, they all have a very similar style of face, very similar proportions. Where's the guy that I have? This dude, pretty similar to this guy. You know, he's kind of rendered this in a different style, but all kind of fitting within that same I don't know. Same style, slightly different aesthetics, I guess, is how I would describe it. But yep, just kind of the head. We gave him like a little bit of some traps and a little bit of his torso. But for the most part, just some style study here. Let's see, I'm sure I've missed something in chat by now. Posting a sculpt every Sunday from now on. That's a cool goal. When I first started sculpting, I actually did 100 days of digital sculpting, where I didn't necessarily, I tried to do something new every single day, just because in those early stages, you know, mileage is so important. You know, even for me now, mileage is super, super important. But in those early stages in particular, it is incredibly important. And trying to like rack up that mileage as quick as you can is very helpful. And so for 100 days, I did 100 different sculpts. Mostly they were all trash. Sometimes I spent, you know, a couple days on one. The objective that I had was just to, you know, get that repetition, sculpt every day. Now I still sculpt every single day. I don't put out something new every single day, but I'm literally, you know, I'm like shackled. You guys can't see my ankle, thankfully, but I'm shackled to this computer. That's how I feel sometimes, at least. But yeah, I sculpt every day, and getting in the habit of that's really a good idea early on if you can. Let's bring this up. This feels just awkwardly long to me. Even though this is just, I'm not super worried about the hair, right? Obviously, if you can't tell by looking at this. What we've done up here for the technique that I've used to create the hair, I might actually have a lot of these undos. Let's see how far back we can roll on this. So my essential strategy when doing stuff with the hair is to, from the beginning, take the head, mask off the area that I want, and I do have it, that's great. And then from there, you can create an extraction, or what I like to do is just polygroup it and slice it off. and then I'll manually give it thickness. It just allows me to control some of this stuff a little bit more. Start remeshing it, cleaning it up, and then I start adding in those additional meshes here, which you can see, and eventually taking those, dynameshing them in, and then, you know, going through the whole process of cleaning it up, much like I would do with the face. So really simple. This is what I would do for blocking out hair. You can see here there's a lot of individual hair clumps that we can kind of see. And if I was doing something a little bit more intricate, I would try to take these kind of a few different segments here and break those up into hair tubes. I like to do that a lot if you guys have seen some of my work in the past. But for something like this, where most of my focus is trying to be on the face, I'm totally cool with leaving the hair a little bit more unfinished than you know, something like this. As you can see in this character, it's relatively simple as well. If anybody knows who this is supposed to be, by the way, I think it's supposed to be Justin Bieber. I really don't know. Miji did not mention in her concept what it was supposed to be. But yeah, I think the only other thing I'll mention up here on the hair, even though it's pretty rough, some of the things that I've kept in mind up here in terms of like fundamentals that I think are really important that you guys should focus on. No matter, you know, where you are in your sculpting career. Talking about edge quality, so you saw that I extracted that base kind of hair cap and then added these meshes on top, started sculpting those up by hand. Talking about edge quality here, as I start to blend these edges back, you don't want your edges to always have the same level of, you know, hardness from start to end. So starting to fade those out as they come and wrap around here, and fade those out into the rest of the hair, just to make that start transitioning and get that looking really clean. Another place that this is extremely apparent, you'll see in the eyes. I'll show you guys that in just a moment here. Whoop. I'll just continue to clean that up. I'm going to be doing a lot of this as I go around, explaining some of this. So in the eyes, another perfect example of this sharp edge here on this bottom portion of the eyelid coming out, wrapping around. You don't want to just have that. Well, first of all, it's going to start to age him immediately by putting these thick lines under the eyelids. It's going to age any character. Same with if you have a really tight line around your nasolabial fold, you're starting to kind of manually put in these wrinkles. With this kind of fade out and transition there, that starts to clean up really nicely. And we can even see that represented in this illustration too. And we can start to play with this shape a little bit more, which I have not had too much of an opportunity to do. And probably mess with our, you know, once we get into Asym, we can start breaking this eyelid a little bit by yoinking that down and playing with that some more. Let's see here. Danis, welcome to the stream. Are you freelance? Yes, I am. I do a lot of contract work. Let's see. Once you get into the habit, it feels weird when you don't sculpt. Put on a video game and feel guilty. It's not ZBrush. Yes. ZBrush is my most played game for sure. And let's see here, over on Facebook, what's going on, Paulo? Can you explain how you did the hair, please? I think I just got done doing that, so perfect. I answered your question before I even read it. That's lucky. That's good on my part. Oh, for the face on the right, same exact process. Same exact process as this dude here. And Manta and everybody else, welcome guys. All right, let's continue on in here. So I've been kind of working on blending some of these harder areas because I still had a lot of these really tight transitions in here. Looking at this eye, I think the shape is at a point right now where I'm happy with it, where it would be cool to jump into Asym there on the eyes. On the mouth, looking at that line pulling up, feels like my mouth is a little bit, maybe not a little bit wide. maybe a little bit too wide. We'll shrink that in a little bit. But when I'm doing that, I was kind of talking about this today earlier on my stream as well, but looking at your character, your sculpt, whatever you're working on from these super extreme angles, like looking top down at your model and from the bottom up, just so you can figure out stuff like, if we're looking here at this silhouette of my cheek, kind of making sure that that's nice and clean, and I've already taken the time to do that. But as I start to do stuff like, let's say, push in the mouth, and if I want to make that more thin with that big move, well, from this angle we can see that that really starts to, you know, get this kind of ugly, warbly, kind of super S-curve there. There's a lot going on. So I just want to be careful when I'm making these kind of changes. Understand what's going on with my surface. We are 3D artists. We have to make it look good from every angle, not just one. I probably won't do anything with facial hair on this dude, much like I said with the hair up top. A lot of what I'm doing is stuff with the face. Trying to learn more from these 2D artists, figure out how they do things. I think there's some stuff that could change here in the nose. This dude is so I've mentioned in the past like how you can, you know, take your image and overlay it and turn down the opacity if you want, and overlay it that way over your character. That can be very helpful, but that can be very hurtful as well, specifically in something like this scenario where it looks like it's a little bit straight on, but looking at this guy, I can tell that he's looking a little bit down and a little bit to the right. And me trying to overlay that and match up some stuff here is probably going to end up causing a few more problems than what I want. For something like the nose alone, it could be helpful, but for some of these like larger proportions, I have to be aware of that and be really careful. So I think this can kind of change a little bit just to get a little bit more heavy. That front and middle portion. Pull down a little bit more, get a nice curve from the side, making sure that that's still reading well. I think it is. Let's look up here at our brow. It's kind of feeling like it's coming forward a little bit too much. And don't forget that you can also move your light around. It's in your light menu. Kind of play with that. I just remembered that I totally... Guys, you guys gotta remind me. I always forget to do this whenever I come on here. I forgot to start my stopwatch. Let's see, what time is it? Alright, let me adjust this really fast. Hour and like 35. Sure, start. Cool. And let's see, scroll back up on chat. Just paint him as the Joker. Give him that super wide. Beautiful. Exactly what we need. And cool. I think I'll pass on that. But what I do think we'll do next is start getting into asymmetry and giving this dude some expression, which is always really fun. Two of the places where I feel like your character really starts to evolve and go to that next level is one, when you start adding the polypaint to your character, start texturing it, making that feel a lot better, and then two, once you start posing, or in the case of a head, much like this, start giving it some expression. I feel like that's when things really start to come alive. I've turned off my polypaint so that I can come through and clean up some of these areas where things are a little bit more dirty than what I would like. I was noticing a little bit of that going on in the cheek, and it's kind of hard to see with my polypaint on exactly what's happening there. So just toggling this off, even just for a moment, can be very helpful. So I'll just do this real quick. Make sure that that nose is reading okay. It's feeling like it's coming forward a little bit too much in the little wing of the nostril there. Yeah, if we look at it from this angle, remember those extreme angles are very important. If we look at that, this is not what that should look like. That feels very very off to me. So let's make some minor adjustments there. And that's feeling a lot better. And that's probably caused by me trying to exaggerate at one point, like some divot in the lip that didn't need to be there. So just pulling that back out, and I'd also like to look at my eyelids really fast as well. Top, bottom. A little tight, but I think it'll do. Okay. And the only other area that I might clean up before going into Asym is maybe in here. It gets real tight. I think it's fine. I think it's good enough. Let's just reapply that material though. Turn on perspective and turn off symmetry. Get going here. Side effects, I go sleep. Nice. Well, it was fun. It was fun while it lasted. You definitely should go get some sleep if it's past midnight. Thank you, man. You have a good night. All right, let's get into some Asym. So where should we start? Well, the two most expressive parts of your face, obviously your mouth and your eyes. So I'm thinking we can go ahead and just start by probably adjusting this brow down, since this is obviously the biggest move, and then pulling that corner up for our lips. We'll turn off our eyebrows. Doesn't that look just beautiful? And you know what? Instead of doing that, let's just go into Transpose. Let's do everything at once. It's always a lot easier when you do that. So we'll start by just masking off everything that we don't want. Our eyes and probably just everything below that corner. I wanted to select just this. And I'll start by just moving this down. This is going to be a pretty rough movement at first as I start to get this more towards a flat. And depending on, this is just a face, this is just an expression. This is a pretty big move down, but when you're posing a character with Transpose Master for a sculpt, you're going to kind of face similar problem areas, I would say, where you're going to break your mesh, you're going to break your character. That's why on this gal here, I sculpted pretty much everything in pose already. If I were to handle this in, sculpting in a neutral state and then going into posing, I mean, I'm just gonna have to resculpt so much. So kind of a similar thing here. In a face, you kind of want to stay symmetrical as long as you possibly can. Sometimes, though, I guess maybe depending on the expression, you might want to sculpt it asymmetrically from the get-go. I've never had a situation where I thought that was a good idea, but maybe you guys have found something in the past. Oh. Sometimes his nose has a little kink in it. We're gonna have to do some interesting stuff up here with this brow. I don't know. We'll probably sculpt some additional form up here as we play with that. This eye is gonna have to open up a little bit more in general. Ooh, we want to grab our eyelash here as well. And then for the corner of the mouth, and we're just starting to get this stuff moving in the correct direction. The way I've sculpted this, essentially, I think I have the direction of this corner of the mouth already going the right way. This one isn't too much extra work then, just from the way I've done this. He's got a little bit of a like duck lips, pursed lips kind of thing going on. It's kind of fun. But of course, as we move up certain things in the face, as we start to move up that lip, the cheek also moves up and thus compresses, the bottom lid and everything else going on here. Ironically though, just the expression he's making, it's actually making this eye open more than the other. That is my follow notification on my Twitch channel. I don't know if I can mute that. Let me see here. I'll continue to get those if I don't toggle this off. 1 second. Let's take disable. There we go. Disable that temporarily. Toby, what's going on? This is my first time seeing ZBrush. But if you want more detail in the hair, would you do every strand? No, I would not. I would most likely do clumps of hair, clumps of strands, and then from there what I would do with those clumps and strands, or with those clumps, start, you know, sculpting. Let's grab this. Start sculpting. Now, what's going on here? Not on the right subtool even. Start sculpting some more additional form on top of that. Similar to how you might handle it in traditional clay. It really does have some duck lips going on. I don't know who pointed that out to me, but he's got like this pursed look going on here. Let's see, is this for a game or cartoon? Looks awesome, thank you. Joe, I'm just gonna call you Joe because I'm gonna butcher your name. Thank you, Joe. No, this, I'm doing some heads, some stuff for some style studies. Ralph, thank you, man, I appreciate it. Alright, we'll get in here and start tweaking on this some more. And I think I want to get, let's see, let's grab a transpose line here. We're pretty flat here in the eyelid. There's a little curve off that back corner, but for the most part, it's pretty flat. So I think just opening this up more, getting this angle a little bit tighter, and then let's do a mask off here. And I want to pull this brow down even more. Kind of exaggerate that. I mean, if you look at the distance between these two brows, like just from one to the other there, it's pretty drastic. Let's hop back into our subtools just to see how this is shaping up as we make these changes. So that will go back through all my subtools and start pushing those around. So even after a little bit here, we're starting to head in the right direction. Got that one crazy eye. Let's see. So as I'm making this, I would like to start getting some more volume, just a little bit more over here. Getting that wrap around the face, making sure that that's feeling a lot better. Fix our light here. And I'm gonna toggle some of this stuff off just so I can see this a little bit better. And I'm gonna use my Sharp Move AccuCurve brush here to really get this eyelid to turn the way I'm seeing it happen here. And then our pupil iris combo thing that we've sculpted, or that we've painted here really quick, I might have to resize that as well. Can't really tell right now. And let's do some masking. Start to move this edge. I need to turn off perspective because it's messing with my camera. It's really hard to move on stuff close up when you got that perspective on. Just Trying to get the appropriate shape here. And then, of course, pulling that brow down, which we've already started to do. Where's our eyelids here? Eyelashes, not eyelids. And it's getting a little bit messy, but that's okay. Ooh. Let's make sure that we're not editing those at the same time. Let's see. Duplicate that, step forward here. Fix my undos here really quick, kind of messed that up. Need to make sure symmetry is off for all this stuff. And I also need to open up my door before I melt. Alright, so I have a little bit of change in form that needs to happen up here in the eyebrows as well. Crease, start getting that to roll that way. Uncrease that one, start getting that to roll that way. Whoop, come back. And let's just turn off the poly paint on those. It's really hard to see when it's all black. This makes it a little bit easier. I've just quickly added a subdiv here. Instead of manually going through and adding edge loops, I'd prefer to just do this. And it looks like we're going a little bit higher here. And for this shape, I'll show you guys what we can do for that. Keep pulling down here. Oh, don't want that floating away. So we're starting to exaggerate that gap more and more. That's good. Kind of continue doing that. Can just sample one of these colors from the brow if we want to use that. I just had pure black in there before. Doesn't really matter. That's kind of what I did over here. Just left it. I actually didn't have any poly paint reference for this character, so I kind of just wung it. I like wung it. That sounds nice, right? Maybe a little bit thick here. I think we could start rotating that brow. Whoa, come on back. Start playing with that a little bit more. Let's look over here at this shape that we want to start getting. And there's a few ways that we can start tackling this. I'll probably just start blocking out a little bit of that form and how that's going to transition here. And just start building that up a little bit. So a slight cut in on the surface as I'm just gonna start building this up, just so I know where to stop that. Oftentimes, if you guys watch me during the blockout phase, and this is how I have to handle this, I gotta block it out first and then start refining it. But during the blockout phase, you'll see me do stuff like adding in really sharp, hard lines in some areas to essentially define where plane changes need to happen. That's essentially what we're doing up here now. Exact same strategy. So with that basic line there, we could even mask it off. That sometimes makes it easier. Start building up that form on the brow. Another thing I like to do if I'm going back to sculptural stuff, Just turn off the poly paint. A lot easier to see your 3D form underneath, what's going on. And then we can start fixing some of that. And let's see, with our eyebrow, we'll have to move this around some. And I don't want these super hard creases down here, transitioning to the brow. I will soften most of this. Same over here. It's not nearly as sharp as I've just built this up to be. It's because I'm sitting here redefining this brow line. Let's make this a little bit sharper before we soften it. Oh, pull that line through. Starting to get that a little bit better in place. I think the shape could stretch this way. Start to soften some of that. Trim this back. And we are getting there with not too much work. I see this thing a lot in, like, I've done some work for some characters from Madagascar, for example, that kind of style. They do a lot of similar stuff with their brows, where they're really expressive, where they'll just, you know, end up having additional form in certain poses, certain expressions. And sometimes that's a little frustrating because it's just additional work. In the rig, I'm not sure exactly how you would do something like this with probably just a morph target and morph into this shape. And you'd probably have it for both brows, depending on the expression that was happening. It's interesting, all the same though. We're getting there. That's looking pretty clean. I don't know if it's exactly correct or in the right place, but we have the shape, which is step one. Alright, let's see here. Borkin says, awesome sculpt. Thank you, Bork. Uh-oh, somebody's lagging. Hopefully it's not on my end. Let me know if you guys are experiencing any more troubles. And let's continue, I guess, on this brow. He needs to come down a lot more, doesn't he? Sometimes I'll paint in the little eye reflection as well. That can be helpful sometimes. I think I'll forego that for the time being. I like to keep most of that stuff pretty simple while I'm sitting here sculpting. So you don't have to worry about the eyes unless you want to paint them up later. I'm more concerned with translating these forms in the face into 3D. I've already learned a ton just from, you know, examining this illustration and creating what we have thus far. I recommend doing something like this. If you guys are looking to level up, doing some style studies is always a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun for me, at least. I guess if you like sculpting, it's a lot of fun. And I think the rest of that brow needs to come down as well. So I'm just pretty low. I think I'm on my lowest subdiv right now. Just starting to massage this down with my move brush. Flatten out that plane more. And maybe we've pushed some of this a little bit too far. Maybe we haven't pushed it enough. We'll keep playing with it. And that material keeps messing up. What brush am I using that has... Huh. I'm not sure. Alright, so this angle, I don't have this image exactly straight over here, but let's just make sure we're getting close to this angle. Pull that up even more. Get him feeling more smug. He feels super smug to me. I don't know about you guys. And also, I'm thinking that his eyes need to be looking up a little bit more, and then maybe I can tilt the head down overall. And could I... Wah. Beautiful. All done. I think we'll leave that there. I could maybe make that a little bit larger. We could sit here and paint these up too if we wanted. Turn perspective back on. I'm just using the default perspective settings, by the way. Somebody was asking about that earlier, I saw. Oh. So a lot of the times I'll see stuff really pushed in asymmetry for things like the nose. I don't really like to do that too much, just because the more you push it, the more it starts to get away from that original appeal that you've made, that you've sculpted in. And I like to keep that. I can see that there's maybe like some slight curve going on here and then like just around here, and I might do a little bit of that, but for the most part, I'm happy to keep that shape. I say we continue to push this brow even further. The eyebrow and the actual brow of our character's head. Because if we look here, I mean the edge between the eyelid and the eyebrow is pretty much just right on top of each other. So let's jump on over to T-pose and see if we can nudge that up some more. Let's see. I prefer your version. The reference looks like a photo of your bust with the Beautify filter. The Beautify filter. Well, I'm just, you know, we're not there yet. We're still going. Maybe we'll apply a Beautify filter. Wow, why is that so hard to say? Maybe we'll do that at the end too. I also don't know what a Beautify filter is. I assume that's something in like Snapchat. I mean, this is very saturated and very vibrant. It's really nice. I like it. Now, I'm thinking, as we furrow our brow, is there any way I could like dip this in a little bit? Pull that in some. Maybe slightly. Just trying to make sure these shapes are reading nicely. Oh no, guys, he's back. It's the ice cream man. He comes to torment me every day at the same time. He plays this stupid song all day. Not all day, but when he comes, he plays it forever. He'll drive around for like half an hour or longer. It's blasting. Do your ears hang low? Let's jump on back. The shading of the beard, his jaw looks a lot narrower. We can play with that for sure. I've lined some stuff up here a little bit more, and it might also be just like that slight angle, like I mentioned, playing with us. There's a lot of things that aren't exactly on IP here, proportionally. Like the ears, for instance. The beautify, it smooths the skin, scales up your eyes, shrinks your mouth and nose and chin. It's the bane of Instagram. Ooh, I'm gonna have to check this out. I wanna beautify myself. I wanna be beautiful. Let's see. Oh. I'm sculpting a kid's face, but it looks like a smashed frog face. That's the best comment I've seen all day. Oh no. Just keep pushing on it, you'll get there. It just takes time. I'm just gonna keep this material on. Let's see. I think I could do some more volume up here in the brow too. Gonna pull that out a little. I think this edge started to get away from us a little bit here. So if we can get that back in just a tad, that would be nice. It's definitely feeling a little bit better. Dang, that's bright. Alright, and then I just want this brow line to match his actual eyebrow a little bit. Get that nice S-curve we see going on there. Just making sure that that all feels really nice through there, and it's feeling a lot better. Turn our Polypaints back on. And excuse me. Take a look down here at our mouth. I made a really rough poly group. Whoa, come back. Really rough poly group here, but let's round out this bottom lip more, right? And then this, corners of his lips, I think, tuck up under, or just like we can fade that out some more. I'm gonna try to get more volume around here. We're starting to look better though. Excuse me. Got something stuck in my throat. I've mentioned this before many times, I'm sure, but it really is these little small tweaks that really start to add up quick. Let's see, we're getting some more volume there. Maybe pull back some over here. Might have overdone that a tad. Not a problem, not super hard to knock back. Let's see. I think I've also exaggerated the pillows of the lips down here. Go away. I think I've exaggerated this form change down here too much as well. Like I mentioned, like I said, he's got some really interesting lips going on. Slip. Render in ZBrush or render that you use? I'm not sure I understand the question. I will do some renders in ZBrush. I'll also do some rendering in Keyshot as well. If you're asking what do I render in, a lot of the times, you know, I just like showing off stuff directly in and from ZBrush, just like some either screenshots. I mean, in all honesty, if it doesn't look good in a screenshot, like, why even render it, in my opinion? I feel like you can hide a lot of stuff with renders, and I feel like that's kind of like the girl in high school that wore a little bit too much makeup. It's kind of that scenario, or similar. I'll just show off how it actually looks a lot of the time. I don't mind. Like if I'm gonna show turns of the character or whatever I'm working on, I'll just show them off, like screenshots. It's totally cool. I like to do some nice clay renders and stuff like that in Keyshot though. It's always fun. And Ghost of Christmas Future, what's up? Welcome back. You've been around all day. You gotta be exhausted. Sorry you speak Spanish. No, not a problem. You used a translator, sounds like you said. Traductor. I'm sure that's translator. I love when people in Spanish type ja ja ja, like ha ha ha. It's always fun, to me at least. Because I just imagine that Spanish people laugh with ja ja ja, even though that's definitely not the case. But I like to think that it is sometimes. I'm gonna pull in around here. It's a little bit too much. Oh no, our eyeball poking through. Try to readjust this lash here, lash over here. And these are just simple polygon planes. Come on back. Come on back. They're pretty, oh gosh, come on. Perspective. Why you do this to me? They're pretty thick right now, so I'm just trying to thin them out. They're pretty much just, you know, they're very graphic lashes. Pretty much just like straight black lines. It looks like he's got like a little corner kind of pulled out towards the end maybe, which is very common. You'll see this a lot. So I've just done this in the most simple way possible. Really tiny, low poly count plane of geometry here. And we'll do the same thing over here, I guess. And now everybody's just spamming ja 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 in chat. If you look here, this edge, this inner edge, get a little weird there. We got that like dip in. Let's fix that. And I think I'm gonna try kind of equalizing it, pulling it down here on this side, and then pulling up a little bit on that part too. I'm using backface masking to do that. And I think that is pretty good. Still a little bit more than I like, but I think that'll be good. Alright, let's delete some of these extra transpose meshes. And I'll even drop this dude back over here real quick. I learned something cool the other day, on accident actually. With your images dropped on your canvas, I actually forgot. I forgot that this was a thing, but they're still affected by light changes. Like, this is just dropped on the canvas, but it's still recognized as 2.5D, so it's still affected by all the light changes that you make. That's really cool. Forgot that that was a thing. What's going on, engine? Can't burn your poly count here. on my channel, on my Twitch channel, by watching, you essentially earn you like earn fake currency, fake points or whatever. You can't do anything with them, but they're just like a fun little thing. And I call it poly count, and you have your own personal poly count associated with you. And apparently you can gamble your poly count. And Engine went from #1 on the leaderboards with the most poly count, and then to the very bottom in one day. Engine is a gambling man. Maybe not the best gambler in the world, but he does enjoy a good gamble. All right, these lips are getting a little wonky, so let's play with some of this some more. I'm mainly looking at this like top edge of the lips and seeing what's going on here. It's kind of a little bit messy in there and hard to read exactly what's going on, but I think that curve is somewhat close to what we want there. For the bottom here, from this extreme angle, I'm just trying to realign some of this, make that still feel good. Problem is, I'm starting to get that jaw to thrust forward a little bit more than I want. I actually pulled this chin out based on this image. I don't think this is quite as strong. We'll get a really nice crescent moon kind of silhouette there. It's pretty cool shape. Maybe we'll do this head next. I kind of doubt it. It's very, very similar. Like I said, a lot of this guy's stuff is very similar, but there are some definite differences here. So I think that... Ooh, oh man, I think I just closed my chat window. Hopefully that's all still loaded up in there. Ooh, I'm sorry guys. My chat just had to refresh. So if I missed a question or anything, I apologize. Please just post it again. Check in here real quick, I guess, on the actual channel. Trying to open up the posted. Ooh. All right, there we go. Cool. I don't think I missed anything. Alright, let's look at this jaw a little bit more here. And even though I've worked on this without symmetry on for a while, I've broken symmetry, there are some big changes that you can still make, you know, by turning symmetry back on. I got this before, this read that there's quite a large plane change happening there. And I would prefer not to have a huge kind of dip here, but let's see. You can also see these pink little splotches coming in here. That's a problem from stepping up and down through my subdivs with paint on. I just need to fix this neck quite a bit. And I didn't consider doing something like this for this guy. I was just going to keep it as a head. But if you do want to do something like this, the most simple way that you can attach some geometry, I like to just append spheres. Get this down here, pull that out, and of course fix our material as we keep making changes. It's gonna keep messing up on us. And this is how I would start blocking out the body of this character in general. Just grab a sphere and start pulling stuff around. For the most part, I think we'll just do like a real quick, kind of like what we did here. Real quick trapezius kind of pull out shape. So this basic shape here, make sure we're covering up that neck all the way, and then kind of blending into the chest a little bit. Face is starting to feel a little flat too, so we'll take a look at that in a minute. This is kind of helpful for just figuring out where that form needs to turn. And also, I guess, clean up our super dark ears that we've kind of got in here. There's actually a few areas in the poly paint that we'll have to clean up. They've gotten a little crazy. Use a low RGB intensity. Clean up some of that. So by lowering your RGB intensity, it's kind of like infilling a very small percentage of a color. You can still press really hard and get that full color, or you can lightly kind of airbrush that or do it very subtly. You can probably see that if I undo that a little bit, but that's what I like to use. Very low RGB intensity, typically with my standard brush. And I'll like paint in some of that around spots where it needs to be, or I want it to be a little bit more warm for these warmer colors in the face and on the nose, everywhere else. The ears typically. And that's kind of getting into an area of manually painting in highlights and shadows. And that's kind of a risky area to get into. What I like to do is, at most for painting shadows, I'll do some stuff to like darken up the ridge of the brow and maybe the nostril or the underside of the nose. You start getting into some dangerous territory when you're like shading in your nostril. It can, you know, for hand painted textures, it's a little bit different. But if you're doing something, I don't know, it's kind of in between, I recommend not pushing it too far. I kind of want to that looks good, right? I kind of want to play with that jawline a little bit more. Let's focus on one thing at a time. Let's finish this little body thing we're doing here. Boom. Get that feeling a little bit better. Just got a little bit of these sternocleidos flowing down, everybody's favorite muscle, right? Most fun one to say. I'll just do like a quick little separation there, nothing crazy. And then a quick little pinch here. Get that little doohickey, Adam's apple. And we'll take this back some because it's pretty hard right now. So let's just continue to block that out, get that feeling good. And I would normally, you know, take this neck and blend this into this piece of geometry here through Dynamesh or whatever you want to use. Live Boolean as well is definitely applicable here. But I'm thinking that because of our mouth situation, we'd have to split that off and open the mouth up again so we don't have our lips merging together. I don't really want to do some Dynameshing up here, so I think we will avoid that, but instead just kind of do a little bit of what we've done here, where I've just taken this and just sliced it up in a clean way. And I'm using my slice curve brush to do that, deleting, closing holes, and then doing a mirror and weld operation to make sure that that mirrors appropriately. Unfortunately, with your slice curve brushes, you cannot do those operations symmetrically, so after the fact, you kind of have to mirror whatever operation you apply there. Let's see here. Andy, what's going on? Welcome to the stream. I'm trying to check all the chats here. Uh-oh, it's our trim brush. Let's grab our move brush. Now, if I wanted to blend this little piece here into the neck a little bit better, what I would personally do, since I don't want to actually merge this together, I would duplicate my head to essentially create a proxy mesh that I could merge this into. Oops. And just take like a little piece of the neck or something and merge that together like that. Dynamesh that really fast. And then I could start, you know, working on this transition so it's not quite so sharp and in your face. Because right now that's really, really ugly. You can see how that's working up there. Kind of blends in with the rest of the neck. But yeah, let's see. I guess we'll do a quick just 1K ZRemesh on this piece, and that'll help blend that a little bit better. If we want, then we can start creating some of this stuff down here with that sterno notch and everything else. But for the most part, I just wanted to show you guys how we would append something like that without actually having to go through the trouble. Remeshing error, what? So I want to show you guys how to attach that without going through the trouble of having to you know, create extra geometry and Dynamesh this back into our head and lose all of our subdivs in here, because I don't want to lose those right now. But this, why won't you remesh? What's wrong with you? Do a quick Dynamesh. And I'll try that one more time here. Let that do its thing. And cool. That'll do just fine. Fill in a little bit with my trim here. And then little things like this in the silhouette as that's kind of wrapping up. We're getting like this really kind of awkward silhouette here. I want this to pretty much just be, you know, straight to straight. Make that look nice and clean and transition up through there. And I will probably just smooth out these connection points. And if I really wanted that to look nice, I would actually merge it together, Dynamesh, and keep going. Just something to give them a little bit of a bod, and then even if we wanted to take it a little bit further here, let's see. I could give them a quick shirt or something like that. And there's a lot of ways to go about doing something like that. I would probably do a quick Dynamesh. Maybe do an extraction. I don't think it's worth doing an extraction necessarily. Maybe doing something like this real quick. Deleting these. Oh, come on. I don't want this brush. Too many selection brushes. Alright, so now we just have this really, really thin, kind of one-sided piece of geometry. But what's great about doing this is that ZRemesher looks at this stuff and realizes that there are holes in it, and it should create some nice clean edge loops around those areas. So just like that. Oh, didn't do a super great job. I'll make it do a great job. Edge loop, group loop, polygroup all that, ZRemesh, one more time. Still doesn't want to play super nice. So here, I'll make it play very, very quickly. Just that, keep group to ZRemesh. There we go. Now I have some actual edge loops. I don't really want them though. So I'll just delete all those, and now I have a thin, essential piece here. I can start pulling all this out. And you could do this to start giving them a shirt, which is what I'm going to use this for. Something real quick here. And there's a lot of these extra edge loops in here as well. Far too many. If you guys are not familiar with the Z Modeler brush, it's an awesome tool. I use it personally all the time in my workflow. For poly modeling stuff, like if I'm gonna even do something like the hair on this character, I'll start with like a tube of geometry, and if I want to make modifications to that tube, the Z Modeler brush makes that really easy. And giving something thickness with the Z Modeler brush is also extremely easy. All you do is hover over face, choose extrude all polygons, and voila, you got some thickness. Now you could crease up those edges as well, if you want to do that. But this is pretty much how I would go about starting to block out my clothing. Obviously we just have a bust here and not a full character, but same thing kind of applies, same strategy, just on a larger scale. Larger, more complicated scale. So we can get those shapes to read a little bit nicer through here. This just makes it a little bit less awkward than something where it's just kind of sliced off as well. I'll see that a lot, but if you can find a clever way to, if you have a bust and you just want to end your little head or something, sometimes I'll create a stand or something like that. That's also a nice way to handle some of that stuff. But yeah, just something, I think that looks fine for now. Just like that. It's a little thin, so maybe I could inflate it a little with deformation inflate. Overall, ooh, we are got those polys facing the wrong way, so let's try that one more time here. Just a little bit of inflate, cool. Very harsh transitions happening here. I'm fine with that for now, though. It's just a little extra piece of geo we got going on. And then we could, you know, do some of that as well. I think I'm gonna avoid that though. Explain a little better, please, noob here. Yeah, if you have any specific questions about some of the process, please just let me know, and I'll try to explain what I can a little bit better. I know sometimes I go a little fast and I have a lot of this stuff set up to hotkeys and everything else, but everything here on the stream, if you guys are coming in here a little late as well, I will say that all this gets uploaded to the Pixelogic YouTube channel. Same thing that I do on my my Twitch channel as well. I just upload everything up to YouTube after I'm done. Unfortunately, Twitch doesn't keep everything. It's the one thing YouTube definitely has over Twitch. Alright, I need the big, oh, that's just beautiful. So the big thing I need to happen right now in our lip is I need this edge to transition a little bit more early. And that's the main thing that's really making this feel awkward for me right now. So this is why I like to go and jump around a lot and work on other stuffs to give my eye some time to rest. Can't always see exactly what's wrong all the time. I am not perfect. But now I can kind of see I've forgotten to translate this a little bit earlier on here. So let's get this feeling a little bit better. And I'll also be taking some of this lower lip. This transition in general is way too thick. Got a lot going on there that we need to fix, but let's do it one step at a time. And these are kind of small things, but it's causing a lot of issues here in how that's reading. Getting there. What's up, Bacon? What's going on? So this is the infamous Follygon. I don't know about that, but this is the only Follygon that I know of. What's going on? Bacon boy. Gonna fade that out a little bit more. Can't tell if my brush is broken or not. Sometimes my brushes break. Nope, it's not. And sometimes, essentially, I'll lose all pressure sensitivity, and then you're using a pen, but it's sculpting like you're using a mouse, like this. It's not a lot of fun. Not a lot of fun. It doesn't give you a lot of control. Pretty much takes away the entire reason I have this. That's such a weird duck lip thing going on here. Very annoying to get this shape, in all honesty. I think, let's pull up here. We'll figure this out. All things look bad until they don't. Still not liking that transition all too much. I think it is getting better. And I would probably finagle with this forever if I could. Not really. I'd sit here and play with this a while though. But let's continue to look at these real extreme angles. Always very important to do that. It's feeling a lot better in the eyes, that's for certain. Going on here. And oh, take a step back for a moment here. Got a lot of pinching going on back here. I'll just trim that up. Make sure we have a nice curve going on back here. Beautiful. Whenever I go to get my hair cut, they're like, "Do you want it rounded or squared off in the back?" And I never know what to say, because it's just the back of my head and I never see it. So I just tell them to use their best judgment. We've also neglected this hair for quite a while, haven't we? I don't know if I've done anything other than some slight, just a little minor cleanup up here since we've started. But that's typically, you know, like if we're looking at this dude here, very minor stuff going on in the hair. Pretty much the same story, transitioning a lot of that back and then just blending that and worrying about edge quality. They're like really small curve changes that I might make here to make this read a little bit better. But for the most part, that's pretty much all I would do for that blockout. And then I would start getting into more stuff here with some individual hair tubes. Let's darken this hair as well. Grab one of these darker colors. Wow, that's pretty much black. And we will, let's see, fill in some of that. Let's make this hair a little bit bigger. Make this a little bit less, you know, less so far down on his forehead. It's kind of all over the place. Got some nice curves going on here, but maybe we can knock that back a little bit too. I'm just more so looking for that basic larger shape there. And then some of this stuff I would really like to clean up. Anywhere where we get unnecessary, I'm combining two words, unnecessary concavities, like this here, or unnecessary convexities, as this kind of comes out here. And it's kind of hard to see with this polypaint, this color, this material, everything else going on, so I can toggle that off and it might be a little bit easier for you guys to see here. Some of this stuff, it just starts to get really messy, and for the most part I don't super care, but I think it's important for you guys to see. Some of you guys seen some of this stuff that, you know, might look pretty minor, but if we, like this internal curve here, look at this, look how messy this gets. It's like all over the place. So these are things that I really pay attention to. And that's gonna help that outer silhouette read, you know, just so much better. That curve is really shaping up nicely. I'm starting to lose some of how tight this gets. That's easy to get back in. I don't know, I feel like a lot of the time, at least when I was starting out, I got really attached to stuff. Like, it was hard for me to work on my sculpt just because of the fact, like, oh, if I want to make this look better, then I'm gonna have to screw up this, and then this is gonna be messed up, and I'll have to redo that, and you just gotta you just gotta plunge like right in and go dive head first, and just don't worry about it. You know, sometimes some stuff is gonna get messed up, but as the more you work, the more mileage, the more miles you put in, right? I feel like the easier it gets for you to recognize what needs to come first, and you'll get better at blocking out those really big form changes first. This is all just, you know, dynameshed at first and pulled all over to hell and back, and now I've started remeshing it. This topology is not clean at all, but I can use it to some extent to clean up some of this. Just having subdivisions alone is really nice for me. And a lot of the time, what I'll do is I'll take something like this that has subdivs, that's been pinched a lot in a lot of these areas to really pull in the polys super tight. I will dynamesh that and essentially bake out the topology that it had, the old topology, and then I'll remesh it again with just ZRemesher just to re-clean that up and redisperse those polygons. If I were to ZRemesh this straight out of the gate, it tends to follow the old edge flow that you had, and in a lot of places, if I'm trying to like specifically get rid of some stars in certain areas, or if that's like directly on a curve, like some of this stuff I might want to get rid of. And in general, I just want to clean it up a lot. Dynamesh can actually help you clean up your mesh. It sounds a little backwards, but it does help out. If you guys have seen on my channel, I'll do that a lot while I'm working on faces. If I have some topology that I'm trying to remesh with edge loops, it's a very common practice. what character has this most recently? Probably, let's see. I'll load this up. So this was a character that was completely done in ZBrush as well, but if we look at the face of this character, this witch, there's some edge loops in the eyes, in the mouth, and also around the nose that are fairly nice. I'll turn on fill color, turn that off. So you can see some of these edge loops, and the way that I've achieved these is at some point in the stage I ZRemeshed this face with polygroups turned on, and I've created polygroups around the eyes, around the eyelids, and everything else so that I can get some nice, clean edge loops around some of these areas. And it's still caused some problems, you know, there's some weird stuff, but this is probably one of the best topologies that I've gotten just out of ZRemesher. But here's the full character. Do a quick little spin around for those that have not seen me work on this gal. But I'm kind of done with her. It was kind of like a little Halloween October thing. It was a lot of fun to play with. But I also have the base mesh for this character. We made that from scratch. I have that somewhere on my Gumroad. I uploaded her recently. And I also uploaded, yes, these. I uploaded 5 of these like base mannequins. I was never going to do anything with these. They're just 5 different characters that I did maybe a month or 2 ago. And if you guys are interested in grabbing those, I think they're only $1 for all 5. But this, here's the base mesh so you can see this. All done in ZBrush. It's pretty much what I use for most of my sculptural bases now for a lot of these characters. But let's delete all that. This guy here, so I started with a sphere. I made one character's head. I'm not going to import that one and keep just importing characters. But then we took that character's head and we pushed and pulled that all the way to hell and back and got this dude. And then now we've taken this dude and we've pushed and pulled him all the way to hell and back, and now we're getting this guy. We've messed up some of our materials in Polypaint though, so let's readjust. Let's get back to where we were. Let's make his hair, skin tone. There we go. Beautiful. I'll turn that Polypaint back on. Alright, so like I said, I'm pretty happy with that hair in terms of like blockout. We could sit here and do more with it and start getting those individual hair tubes. From here, that would probably be my next stage of development if I wanted to continue on this hair. If you guys don't know what hair tubes are, it's essentially just a tube of geometry. You can use the curved tube snap brush, which is a pretty common brush to use for something like this. It's just default inside of ZBrush. You can draw out your curve, start getting that shape that you want. You can even use your stroke menu, mess with your curve modifier in your size menu here, and do a quick little curve adjustment. If I can do that right. And then you can get some actual taper on those, and you can adjust them even further. I have this cube tube brush. Wow, what just happened there? I have this cube tube brush that I like to use a lot. It's a really cool brush. It's just a tri-parts welded brush that I made. And essentially it's just a perfect four-sided cube. You can actually mess with your brush modifier in the curved tube settings to make it a cube, but it will not have the, let's see, it will not have the perfect end cap here. It will instead create a cross section. And just to show that real quick, cube tube, the same, or curved tube snap, the same thing that we were just using. Brush, modifiers, set this to 4. You can actually set this to whatever you want. You could set it to 3 and it'll create a triangle. And then you have a tube, so let's set that, oh, that's the wrong thing. Where'd that go? Set that to, come on, there we go. So you can see here, see how it's got that little cross section there? I don't like having that, so that's why I made that brush. But yeah, let's try this here real quick with the triangles. Beautiful. So yeah, there's a lot of different options for working with that curve tube snap brush. I am a fan for sure. Let's undo all that, go on back here. And I say we continue making a couple passes on the face, adjusting some stuff in the mouth and cheeks, because I'm feeling a little bit too far out, a little bit too flat here. So I'd like to maybe mess with that some, just get some additional depth here, and honestly that was going in the right direction. Just maybe a little bit too much. I think we're a little bit more closer on that side. We'll mess with that a little bit here. Can we get this brush somewhere? The cube tube brush. I do not have it uploaded anywhere, but if enough people want it, I'll upload it somewhere. Starts to feel a little extreme the more I pull that back. At least from the front view, it's feeling a lot better. Let's make sure. Another thing you can do if your materials are getting screwed up that I like to do is select your material that you want. Go to Z plugin, Subtool Master, click on Fill, Material, and that'll just fill in everything with the material that you have selected. The only thing that I don't want that material on is my eyes, so I'll just undo that, but everything else will have that applied now. These corners are a little awkward, aren't they, where that transitions. Try to blend that out some. This one, this one especially, that feels really weird. It's a lot better. All right, what else? What else do we want to do here? Kind of trying to tilt this at about the angle that I think this dude's face is at. Somewhat similar. One thing that's really sticking out to me right now is this eye, getting this to turn a lot sharper. You can see it's pretty much just a 1-2 hit, and we're very rounded still very similar to the other eye. That's one area that I think really needs to change to make this feel more like that character. So to do that, I need some more subdivs in these lashes, because I can't actually get that super hard bend there. Now I should be able to. Let's just move this around. I'll just start by using the lash first. And then I can make the eyelid follow that form. If I can flatten this a lot, that would be great. Right now it feels still a little bit too rounded. Starting to shape up though, as well as let's move the actual lid underneath there. I guess transparency isn't doing us any favors. We want the cube tube! Alright. Better yet, I should show you guys how to make one yourself. It's not a hard brush to make. It's actually a very nice brush to know how to make. Triparts brushes are very cool. So you guys know curve brushes, right? Well, you can do some really cool stuff. They're with your curve brushes. They're called triparts brushes. And essentially the way that it works is you have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And the beginning and end are always the same, but the middle will always repeat itself. So if you have, let's say, a hook, or okay, so like a chain or something like a chain, what you could do is have an open chain on the ends, and then the inside would be those interlocking chains, and then those would repeat, but the ends would always be open. I think there's some brushes in here that are already like that. Here you go. The IMM curve brushes. Like, oh, here you go. This is perfect. A perfect example of a triparts brush. Just a little bit more complicated. Same basic idea, though. So you have that repeatable part in the middle, and if I polyframe on this, you'll see that there are 1, 2, 3 poly groups, beginning, middle, and end. Looks a little broken there, but maybe that's something to do with scale. I don't know. Maybe not. That's not hard to fix though. But still, lots of really cool stuff that you can do with those. Pause this timer. So I've got an eye on the clock now. Alright, so that eye it's definitely feeling better. It's getting there. I think I could push that even further. Let's add another subdiv in there. And grab just that loop. A little bit of a trick here by adding subdivision levels, just to add an extra little curve in here, a little bit more topology. So I can move that curve. And another thing that I can do is a little trick that I like to do. Instead of creasing an edge loop, because creases are really tight, instead just do a really tight bevel, and that'll work a lot better typically. Get rid of these, don't need these. Whoa, Nelly. And let's re-crease now. Crease edge loop. Crease, crease, crease. Crease all the things. And I think I can delete these as well without it freaking out. I can. Cool. I was too lazy to manually put in edge loops, so I just subdivided really fast, just so I could get that basic shape. Get that edge to turn there. Getting a little messy up through here. This is a pretty small nitpicky thing, but I'm a small nitpicky guy. So we definitely have achieved that tight turn there a lot better now. A lot more accurately, I would say. I think we could do some tweaking up here. make this one feel a little bit closer as well. And then probably make, like, fill in through here, make the shadow a little bit less crazy. Up through the brow up here. Just adding some volume in there. Right now, from this top-down view with the light, we're getting a pretty strong shadow in there. And I'm not sure if that's caused by the eyebrow that we've made, but I think there's just a little bit too much of a concavity in there. And cleaning some of that up would definitely help in that area. I'm not sure what happened to the Facebook stream, but right now it's someone doing their nails, so that's fun. I don't know what happened here. Okay. Maybe it ended on Facebook. I'm not sure. I'm just gonna close that. We are just at time here, but I will stick around for just a couple more minutes. So if there are any more last-minute questions, ask them now while you still can, because I'm gonna have to jump out of here before the next stream, which we should check on. Who's on the next stream? Go to ZBrushLIVE. Check out the schedule. Up after me is Jose. That's right. I think he's doing Past the Sculpt. Is he? Or are they done with that? He was doing a Past the Sculpt thing. This is really bright. Right in my face. But yeah, check out Jose. He's going to be at 9 p.m. EST. So that's in 1 hour. Yeah, let's see here. Definitely stick around for that. I'm kind of looking at this guy in the 3/4. I would probably tighten up his cheekbone area. If we look at the silhouette, we're getting a little rounded here, a little too rounded, I would say. I definitely want more of a hit up here towards there, towards the actual cheekbone. Other than that, though, in terms of, you know, a study on this guy's work, on his style, and the forms that he attempts to achieve, I think we've kind of gleaned a lot from this, and I hope you guys have learned something tonight as well. Any book or type of content that has some theory on character design or shape language. I cannot personally recommend anything in that category in terms of books, but I actually have a course planned exactly on that topic. And I have not yet started on it, but that's going to be the next kind of big course, and I'm thinking about doing some full character work for that as well. Just because I think that's something that's really important, and it's something that I try to talk about a lot during my streams, and yeah, I don't know, I think those fundamentals of like character design and translating 2D to 3D, just having that language is definitely something for me that helped me really level up my ability to recognize not just you know, doing that thing, but some of these things I was doing and I just didn't know how to maybe articulate it quite as well, and gaining that ability was really nice. So I don't know, we'll see. The only books that I have are recommendations on my Twitch channel, which you can find at the link up here, I believe. It's just twitch.tv/Follygon with an underscore at the end. That'll take you to my Twitch channel, and if you scroll down to the bottom of the page, there's links to all my stuff. The main one that you would be looking for is the gear, and then on there are some books that I recommend. But yes, stick around. In an hour, Jose is going to be sculpting. Check out my Twitch channel again, link over there. Only other thing that I'll shout out at the end, my Gumroad. If you're completely new to ZBrush Digital Sculpting, I have a quick start course. There's some other courses for intermediate and more advanced stuff, some base meshes, yada yada yada. You guys know the drill. Other than that, thank you for coming. Again, you guys have a great night. Check out Jose's work. Subscribe to the Pixelogic channel. Check out the official Pixelogic ZBrush Discord. And I will. I hope to see you guys over on my channel sometime. I'm gonna be streaming tomorrow at noon EST. Other than that, you guys have a great night, and I hope to catch you next time. I need to find my actual stream here so I can turn this off. All right, I'll see you guys later.